Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the May 2019 HMIS monthly call. My name is Nina Gall, and I am the HMIS Trainer and Project Coordinator. We have updated our training request process. So going forward, rather than using the PDF form that we have been using previously, we are going to begin utilizing Google Forms. So what's going to happen, this link right here will be posted to our HMIS website. And this is the form that you will submit going forward rather than the PDF version that was previously used. So let me click on this link and walk you through what it will look like to submit this new form. So when you click on the link, it'll initially bring you to this page. This is the first page of the form. So this is where you as the requester would enter your email address. So I'm going to go through this as if I were entering the information as a requester. When you click next, it'll take you to the next page of the form where you will enter your information. You need to know who is actually requesting the training. Notice anything with a red star is a required field, so you will not be able to complete the form until all of those fields have been filled out. So I'm going to fill out my information. And click next. So the next section of the form is going to be the program manager's information. If it is not the same as the requester, so if the person requesting the training is the program manager, then this section is not necessary and you can actually skip right over it. If you notice, none of these fields are required, so it will allow you to actually just click next and not have to enter this information. However, if the person requesting training is not the program manager, then we do need to have this information filled out. All right, next up is going to be where you provide us with the information for the new user. So their name, this is very important. This is going to be what we use to create their username for their account. So we want to make sure that their name is spelled correctly, first of all, and we want to make sure that it is the name that they prefer to go by. For example, if they have a hyphenated last name, some individuals who have a hyphenated last name prefer to go by just one or the other rather than both names. So if that is the case, please be sure that you provide us with the last name that they prefer to go by so that their username on their HMIS account will reflect that. So I'm going to go through this as if I were creating a request for a pretend person. So their title will be the HMIS project coordinator. The email address field is required because we do have to have an email address on file for all HMIS accounts. It is required when the account is being created. And it is also essential to have this on file in case the user ever has any trouble with their password or anything like that. Anytime we need to get in contact with them, we do have to have that email address on file. The work phone number is optional. A lot of people don't have an assigned work phone number, so we did not make it a required field. However, if they do have a work phone number, it is great to have that on file for them. The date of request is going to be required because we do need to know when this request is actually being submitted. However, the preferred training date is optional. We typically hold new user trainings on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. That's when the classroom is available to us for new user trainings. So if you already know what date works best for your new staff member, feel free to put that date here so we can do our best to schedule them for that date. If their schedule is pretty open, then just leave it blank and we can just let you know what the next available training date will be. Next one will be the access type, whether they need the full HMIS access or the limited access to viewing only. Whether or not they are a manager or supervisor, and if this is going to be a refresher training for them. Refresher training is for someone who has previously had HMIS access. Typically, it's if they change roles, if they change departments or organizations, or if their account was expired due to inactivity, then they would attend a refresher training. We would like to know the names of the projects in HMIS that the user will be working with. This is beneficial to make sure that their account is set up correctly, as well as make sure that they are trained on the correct project, because each project is a little bit different in HMIS. And then next we have what their duties will be. So this is essential for us so that we can make sure that we cover all of the necessary tasks during the new user training so that they are properly trained. And you can check as many boxes as apply. If there's someone who's just going to be reviewing profiles, not entering any data, then this would be the appropriate box to check. And then depending on what their other duties are, you can select additional boxes as well. And last is the approval process. So of course, the training request does have to be approved by a department head or a program manager, a director, a CEO, anything like that. So this is where that person would authorize the training request by typing their name. And we need to know their title as well. And this is actually the approval process here. Now, once I click submit, I'm going to get a message that the training request was submitted and an HMIS team member will be contacting me shortly. Now, what happened when I clicked submit is it actually just created a ticket in our ticketing system, which is called to manage. So once that ticket is submitted, what we're going to do is we are going to continue to contact you through that ticket, just like we would previously. And we'll send you upcoming training dates. And then once we decide on a date that works best for everyone, then we will send out that calendar invite just like usual. So the training itself is remaining the same at this time. For right now, it is just the process of requesting training that will be changing. So this change is going to go into effect this upcoming Monday, May 20th. So after this date, we will no longer be accepting any previous versions of the training request form. Now, this link will be posted to our HMIS website, so please be sure that you are utilizing this new version going forward. We do also have a video available in HMIS that goes through this process just like we just did, in case you're not sure about it or you want to go back and reference it at any point. So this video can be found in the My Stuff tab in a section titled My Training. And in there, there's a link to get to the videos, and that's where you'll find this video. Next up, we have a chronic homeless training that is going to be open to the community that's coming up. This is going to be a collaboration between the SARA team and the HMIS team. We have offered one that was similar in the past, so if you have attended that one, you might be familiar with it. So some of the things that we plan on covering during this training are going to be the detailed definition of what it actually means to be chronically homeless, including all of the final rules that HUD has released, what type of required documentation you need, and then we're going to go into how you can use HMIS data to help determine an individual's chronic homeless status. We're also going to cover the HUD Universal Assessment, which is, of course, essential to showing chronic homeless status in HMIS. And then we're also going to cover what to do if you have a client aging into chronic homeless status. So keep an eye out for that link to register. It is available on our HMIS website at www.havenforhope.org/HMIS. And of course, it will be Thursday, June 6th from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Beaumont building, which is going to be located at 4243 East PHS Drive. So it is in the near the SARA buildings, if you are familiar with that area. So we only have a few spots open, so make sure you do get in and register as soon as possible before it fills up. So one thing that we want to let you know about is we recently submitted an AAQ to HUD, which is an Ask a Question. In our community, we received a lot of questions about what to do when a client ages into chronic status. So this is something that was asked of us a lot, and HUD doesn't really offer any guidance as far as what to do if you find yourself in that situation. So to give you an example of what that means, let's say a client is currently residing in the courtyard. When they began in the courtyard, their chronic status was no. They were not considered chronically homeless at the time when they came into the courtyard. They met all the requirements with the exception of the length of time homeless. So that was our question. What happens when the client does meet that length of time homeless requirement and becomes chronically homeless? What would we do at that point? So the response that we received from them, so our question was, do we edit the HUD Universal Assessment? Do we create a new enrollment? Or what do we do with that HUD Universal Assessment? So their response was that there is a difference between the chronic homeless status at a point in time and chronic homeless status at project start. So essentially, the HUD Universal Assessment, which is where they're referencing 3.917, that is the living situation. So they're saying that we would not need to reassess a client who has aged into chronic homelessness until the next time they begin in an HMIS project. So essentially, we are only looking at a client's chronic homelessness at the project start. So if at any point during the stay in that project, a client does age into chronic homelessness, there's no need to alter the data at all in HMIS. They will just be captured the next time they begin in a new project. So we just wanted to share that information with you guys because that is something that we have been asked a lot in the past. So that was HUD's response. One thing that we want to just offer some friendly reminders for, while we were going through the system performance measures data, we noticed there was maybe some confusion about exit destinations. So we want to remind you guys that there's a lot of information about exit destinations available on the Data Standards Manual. And this is a document that is available on the HMIS website, but I have a link for it here. So let me go ahead and pull this up for you. So the Data Standards Manual, if you're not familiar with it, it's a fantastic resource. So what I want to do is show you what the Data Standards Manual tells us about destination. So if we scroll down a little bit, there's kind of a breakdown of the different exit destinations and when it would be appropriate to use them. So this is a fantastic resource if you have a client who is exiting to a particular situation and you're not quite sure what that situation would be classified as and what you should record on that destination type. This is a fantastic resource. It covers a lot of those unique situations, and it kind of helps clarify what the different what the different destinations actually mean. So this is a really good breakdown. It breaks it down by homeless situations. For example, a place not meant for habitation. This will be any type of abandoned building, any sort of outdoor sleeping facility. For example, the H4H courtyard will be considered a place not meant for habitation. An emergency shelter. There are no safe havens in San Antonio, so we should not be selecting safe havens. And then there's some additional options, for example, transitional housing. There is some non-homeless situations, whether they're staying or living with friends, staying or living with family. And it goes on to even show if they are moving into an apartment or a house that they are renting, even if they have some sort of housing subsidy to go along with it. Those are all covered here. So please keep in mind there's a lot of valuable information on the Data Standards Manual if you are ever not sure about a particular destination. And last one is the no exit interview completed. Remember, this does come up as missing data when it comes to data quality, so we should only be using this if absolutely necessary, if the client leaves and does not return and we cannot contact them. Let me pull up our PowerPoint again. So like I said, there are no safe havens in San Antonio, so we should not usually see that as an exit destination unless maybe they have left San Antonio and they're moving to a safe haven in another city. The Haven for Hope campus, which would be the H4H master enrollment, is going to be considered an emergency shelter. The entire campus side will be an emergency shelter. Even if it's a single person room or a double person room, every master enrollment is always going to be considered an emergency shelter. Like I mentioned, the H4H courtyard is considered a place not meant for habitation. And if the client does leave and you are not able to get a hold of them and you don't actually know where they are going when they're leaving, one option as you're going through the exit assessments or you're getting ready to complete those exit assessments, please be sure that you are reviewing their enrollment page, because it is quite possible that after leaving your shelter, they moved to another shelter without letting you know, and that shelter may have already enrolled them into their program. So our local policy is that if a client enters into a project within 13 days, so that means there's a less than 13-day difference between the day that you are going to be exiting them and the day that the new project began, then we can actually use that new project as the exit destination. So for example, if you work at Haven for Hope and you are exiting a client from the master enrollment because they left and never returned, and you review their enrollments page and you see that they went to the SAM Ministries Transitional Housing Program within those 13 days, then in that case, we can mark the exit destination as moving to transitional housing. So we can use the HMIS data as evidence so that we can record that information there. We also are coming up on our standardized project names. We're going to be launching that on June 3rd. So that will also help you identify the different types of projects that a client may be entering in, which will help you determine if they are going to an emergency shelter or transitional housing, or if it's just a services only project, so we can't actually use that, different things like that. So that will also assist you going forward as you are looking at the client's enrollment page. Next up, we do want to let you know about an issue that we are currently experiencing in HMIS. Typically, HMIS will log you out after 30 minutes of inactivity. Unfortunately, at this time, that feature is not working properly, so it will not log you out after 30 minutes of inactivity. So please be sure that you are actually logging out of HMIS before walking away from your workstation. Ideally, this is something that you would be doing regularly anyways, but right now it is especially important since it is not going to automatically log you out. So please be sure that you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you are logged out of HMIS before leaving your computer. And another piece of that, HMIS will not prevent you from logging in on multiple computers. Normally, there's a feature that will prevent you from logging in multiple times. It will log out one of the sessions if another one begins. That feature is not properly functioning right now, so at this time, again, it will not prevent you from logging in on multiple computers. So we want to be very careful with this. We want to make sure that we log out of every session before opening a new one. For example, opening multiple tabs in your browser and logging in, or logging in on multiple computers. If you have two sessions open at the same time, this can actually cause issues when you're saving items, and it will result in poor data quality. Essentially, if you're logged in multiple sessions, HMIS may not know which one to save, and it may cause issues later on down the road. So please be very careful with this and make sure you're not accidentally logging in on multiple computers. So we will keep you updated on the status of this, and we want to just emphasize that you are taking those extra precautions. Next up, we want to update you on the data standards changes that are coming up. At this time, we still have not received the new data standards manual from HUD. They had anticipated it coming out in April, but they are still working on finalizing some of those changes. They're going through the approval process right now, so they have not released them to us yet. But of course, once we do receive those documents, we will keep you guys updated on any changes that are going to be coming up, as well as a timeline on when to expect those changes. So keep an eye out for additional information with that. We don't have any updates at this time, but we will let you know as soon as we know. Of course, as we do every month, we want to give a shout out to all of our projects that had 0 data corrections for the month of April. So let's start with AGIS. Good job, AGIS. We've got 3 different projects with 0 data corrections. We've got CHCS coming in with the CYPSH1 project. We have 2 endeavors, SSVF project, the homeless assistance and the homeless prevention. We've got the SAFE COCPSH2 program. We have 2 SAHA COCPSH programs, as well as the TSA Scattered Sites PSH project. So thank you guys very much for taking the time out of your day to make sure that your data quality is as clean and beautiful as possible. We as a community really appreciate this, because this does help our entire community make sure that we are able to receive the funding necessary to keep our shelters operational. So this is really important, and we really appreciate it. However, our list of projects is a little bit low this month. This is the least that we have seen so far since we started doing our data quality spotlight. So anyone who is not on the list, please take a few minutes out of your day to review your data quality, see if there's anything that we can correct. And hopefully next month we will see this list increase dramatically. So please make sure that you are keeping up with your data quality. We really appreciate it. And last but not least, if you have any questions or any concerns, please do not hesitate to submit a ticket to hmis.support@havenforhope.org. We are always happy to answer any questions, whether it's about the new training request process, upcoming trainings like the chronic homeless training, anything like that, any issues that you run into, we are always happy to help. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you again next month.